on multiple occasions, you've discussed your love for the character, and yet, from what I can tell, some people will describe the character of Superman as boring and uninteresting, and that, like, to quote yourself, nobody gives an F about Superman.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is, and why do you think that's one of the more common views of the character?
Well, because the character, all of the DC characters, most of the main ones, are hollow signifiers. They are archetypes with very little detail that have been reinvented and rebooted relentlessly to sell comics for like 80 years, 85 years, and they've just been in a circle. Bring this guy back. Now he's this way. Maybe she's this way. Maybe Aquaman is him. Maybe Green Lantern is this. And they keep kind of rejiggering it and retooling it. And DC is so precious with these properties that they even carry around like Alan Scott Green Lantern and the Jay Garrick Flash. Like they bring these characters that were prototype versions of the characters into the modern canon so that they can continue selling toys. So there's like 6 Flashes and there have been like 5 Batmen and like all this shit, right? Think about Iron Man. How many Iron Men have there been? 3? Mainly just Tony, right? Tony is Iron Man, right? And you know Tony's personality. You know what Tony has? A consistently written personality. He's a clever, quippy billionaire. He's up his own ass. He drinks hard. He has some problems. He's kind of a womanizer, but his heart is in the right place, which is ironic because his heart is in the wrong place. So that's Tony Stark. Can you do that about Batman? You absolutely can. Depending on what era of Batman you're looking at, he's either like a detective who shoots people, who's a billionaire who murders people with a gun. Okay, that's initial Batman. Now he's fun Batman with Batman and Robin, and it's all rated super PG or G. Then the 60s come around. Batman is so fun that it becomes like a joke that Batman would even exist. And the 1960s Batman show happens. It's as a satire. But then in the 80s, eventually DC Comics gets more and more desperate and Infinite Crisis happens, which allows them to reboot Batman into Dark Knight Returns and all that crazy shit in the 80s. And suddenly Batman's like a hard, dark character. And the 80s get more into like dark, serious stories. Now the villains who used to have like big traps and crazy contraptions, they're all serial killers. And it's like, okay, sure. Except for then in the 90s, what happens? The fucking Michael Keaton Batman movie happens. So then that gets reflected in the comics. They start to like reflect each other and the movies reflect the comics reflect the movies. And then by the time you get to like Dark Knight and then now to Joker, you realize you're not looking at a coherent universe. You're looking at an idea. DC Comics has ideas and precious few, not to their fault, not to their detriment, because they have some of the best stories of all time, but precious few truly iconic storylines because their world is so, like most of the storylines people really, really celebrate from DC, most of the big iconic ones are Elseworlds, right? I mean, like even the death of Superman with Doomsday, that is a story that's bad. Like if you read it, it's stupid. And that's like the iconic thing that's recreated again and again and again because it's an idea, the idea that something would kill Superman. Why I love Superman. People don't like him because there's a lot of bad Superman stuff. There's a lot of bad writing on Superman. But people don't like him because of transference. Because the idea of someone who is just sort of the good, strong person and doesn't lose and he's a good guy and he's right up front of everybody, people have a negative reaction to a character like that. People had a negative reaction to John Cena. People have eventually had a negative reaction to Hulk Hogan. And, these are larger than life, super positive characters. But at the end of the day, if you have a problem with Superman, it's something going on inside you. Because there's no real reason to be like, fuck Superman, he's boring. The Christopher Reeves movies are really good. Superman for All Seasons, really good. All-Star Superman, one of the best ever. I mean, Superman Red Son, you can keep going. The 90s animated series, there's been enough great Superman stuff that to be like Superman's boring is just insane. And the reason I love him is literally because there's nothing there. There's nothing there. Like in the 60s and 70s, he would like kill Lois and do all sorts of weird, horrible things and turn people into monsters. Have you ever seen the website superdickery.com?
I have not, unfortunately.
It's just all of the old covers of Superman where he's doing something horrible. And then, you know, the sort of the Donner movie with Christopher Reeve kind of brought it back and went, hey, let's do it. Let's have fun. And that movie's beautiful. It's like a Wes Anderson movie. It's so stylized and cool. And then into the 80s and 90s, when things became about being edgy and being tough, of course, Clark had to die. And then, you know, of course, into the 2000s, the character basically vanishes. I mean, like, in the headline stories of the 2000s, Superman is not important. If you look at, like, Infinite Crisis and all this weird shit, like, Superman was not the point anymore. And I love Superman specifically because the idea that there's a superhero who is a superhero because he's nice. No one died, no one got shot, nothing terrible happened. He has a good relationship with his parents. He's not a perfect person. Like, he's kind of a dork, and his girlfriend is like his boss at work. And he also has a day job. He could have done anything. He could have become anyone. And instead, he became exactly who he would have become if he wasn't Superman. Clark Kent working at the Daily Planet? Like, that's fucking nuts. Do you think if Peter Parker got Spider-Man powers when he was 1, he would have become Peter Parker high school student? No, he would have been a nightmare. He would have become a supervillain. And you can say that about so many people, but the idea that there's this one guy, it makes me fascinated to see different takes on him. And that's why I had such a problem for a long time. I've gotten over it, but I had a problem with Man of Steel because it didn't tell me why. All I want from Superman stories is to see why he's able to stay like this and why he's kind. And I want the answer always to be because he's a nice, sweet person, because that makes him infinitely cooler than so many other superheroes. You look at the fucking Justice League, Amazon princess, space cop, fucking billionaire with a bow and arrow, billionaire with a bat mask, and then guy, reporter. He's a guy. Clark is a guy who lives in Metropolis. Everybody else has like a giant mansion. Clark's never depicted as living in a giant mansion. He has an apartment and he has to change in phone booths. There's something wonderful and romantic and classic about the idea of the right person in the right moment doing the right thing. That's what makes something like Die Hard so fun. And I'd always rather write Superman like John McClane, like a real normal person who makes a choice to do the right thing every day and then follows it through no matter what, than writing him like this brash archetype that he's usually depicted as, this very calm, reasonable guy. What's the fun of that? He's calm and reasonable and he's invincible? Sounds like a villain to me. And that's why everybody always turns him bad, because they don't know what to do with him. Wow, that was a lot again.
I feel like I just got the 2021 version of Regarding Clark.
Yeah, you did.